Think about this for a moment. Every year, millions of engineers graduate in India. Most of them are hardworking, intelligent, and ambitious. Yet, only one of them ends up becoming the CEO of a company that today is worth over $3 trillion. So, the real question isn't, was Satya Nadella smart? The real question is, what did he do differently, step by step, that quietly compounded over 30 years? This video is not about motivation, it's about decisions, environments, and leverages. And by the end of the video, you'll understand why education, especially where and when you study, played a far bigger role than people like to admit. Satya Nadella was born in 1967 in Hyderabad into a middle-class family. Like countless Indian students, he chose engineering and completed a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology in the late 1980s. This is important to pause on. Manipal was a good institution, but it was not an Ivy League, IIT, or NIT. It's not a brand name global school and not a fast track to Silicon Valley leadership. At this stage, his profile looked remarkably ordinary. No headlines, no elite labels, just strong fundamentals and curiosity. After Manipal, Nadella made a decision that quietly changed his trajectory. He moved to the US to pursue a master's in computer science at the University of Wisconsin, which he completed in 1990. Now, here's a crucial detail people often miss. This wasn't about chasing prestige. Wisconsin is a solid public university, not a very flashy one. But it offered three things that mattered: exposure to cutting-edge computing research, proximity to the US tech ecosystem, and a shift from textbook engineering to applied problem solving. This is when Nadella transitioned from being an engineer to a technologist who understood systems. In 1992, Satya Nadella joined Microsoft. At the time, Microsoft was already successful, but it was still primarily a Windows and Office company, not the cloud and AI giant we know today. He didn't join as a senior leader, he didn't jump roles every year. Instead, he stayed and built depth. Over the next decade, he worked on Windows NT, server and enterprise products, developer platforms. This long-term immersion allowed him to understand Microsoft from the inside out, across engineering, customers, and enterprise strategy. Now let's talk about the most underrated decision: going back for an MBA. In the mid-1990s, while already working at Microsoft, Nadella made another unusual move. He went back to school. He earned his MBA from the Chicago Booth School of Business, which he completed in 1997. Now let's address the obvious question here. Would Satya Nadella have become CEO without an MBA? Technically, yes, it's possible. Realistically, it's highly unlikely. Chicago Booth didn't teach him how to code. It taught him how capital markets think, how large organizations allocate resources, how leadership decisions made scale across thousands of employees. Now, this is where he learned to translate technology into business impact. And that skill later became his biggest differentiator. After his MBA, Nadella began moving into roles that sat at the intersection of technology and strategy. His most defining contribution came when he led Microsoft's cloud and enterprise division. Under his leadership, Microsoft Azure grew into a serious competitor to AWS. Cloud revenue became one of the Microsoft's fastest growing segments. Enterprise clients began trusting Microsoft again. By the early 2010s, he helped generate tons of billions of dollars annually, and Nadella was widely seen as someone who could future-proof the company. In 2014, Satya Nadella was appointed CEO of Microsoft. At that moment, Microsoft was often described as internally competitive, slow-moving, defensive about legacy products. One of his first major moves wasn't technical, it was very cultural. He introduced the idea of a growth mindset, encouraging learning over internal rivalry. The results were not subtle. Since Nadella became CEO, Microsoft's market capitalization increased by multiple trillions of dollars. The company re-emerged as a leader in the cloud computing, AI, and enterprise software. Microsoft became one of the most valuable companies in the world. This transformation is now studied in business schools globally. Now, according to recent public filings, Satya Nadella's total annual compensation, including base salary, stock awards, and performance incentives, has been reported at approximately $45 to $50 million per year. Most of the compensation is performance linked, of course. In simple terms, he earns more when Microsoft creates more value. Now, a disclaimer: data varies slightly year to year based on stock performance and incentives. Let's talk about the most important pattern in his journey. Let's step back and look at the pattern. Engineering in India, technical masters in the US, MBA from a top global school, decades of deep work inside one company. Each step didn't replace the previous one, it amplified it. MBA didn't make him technical, it made him a leader of technical people. Now, let's talk about why top schools matter without the hype. This is not about chasing logos. Top schools provide structured thinking at scale, access to global networks, exposure to how leaders actually make decisions. That environment accelerates maturity. And this is why so many global CEOs, including Indians, have passed through top institutions at some point in their journey. You don't have to start with an MBA, Masters in Business Analytics, Masters in Engineering Management, Masters in Management, and later pursue an MBA when leadership responsibilities increase. Education is no longer linear, but intentional education still compounds. Now, my final thoughts are Satya Nadella's story is not about overnight success. It's about playing the long game, choosing environments that stretch you, and stacking decisions that multiply over time. The real takeaway isn't to copy his path exactly, but it's to ask yourself, am I placing myself in the systems that allow my growth to scale? If this video gave you clarity, please subscribe. We break down real careers, real decisions, and the hidden logic behind global success. And if you're exploring whether a top global masters or MBA fits into your long-term plan, you can book a free counseling session through the link below.